We're looking for something specific. It's coming up in a second.
Yeah.
Any story that is worth telling
There's nothing better than this.
is worth retelling.
Oh, here we go.
For Fred Armstrong
Oh, that one was nice.
and Mike Champlin, it's the story
We feel that we're bringing history to life.
of what Rochester once had.
It was lucky it was built at all, I guess. The original idea of the subway was to be a motorway.
It's a story that starts underground,
Yeah.
in a place Armstrong has not visited in quite a while.
It's wild. Look at this stuff.
What's now a canvas for graffiti artists and a playground for urban explorers
So over on this side is where the tracks were.
was once part of a once bustling city's transportation system.
This was a marvel. This was a modern marvel.
In 1926, Rochester, New York became the smallest city in the U.S. to build a subway system. What's left of it is largely hidden, unnoticeable to those who never knew about it, unknown to those who pass above.
And that's when they were running the subway under Broad Street.
30 years ago, Armstrong produced a documentary on Rochester's subway called The End of the Line.
Wasn't there train tracks there?
Champlin was the editor.
It was just one of those stories I've never been able to put down myself. It's just such an incredible amalgam of technology and nostalgia.
The train would run under its own power, except in the subway's unfinished western end.
Because there was so much to work with, what was initially to be a 15-minute documentary ran 45 minutes. The End of the Line is fittingly named,
It just didn't get the ridership.
documenting how Rochester also became the first American city to abandon its subway in 1957.
Back in the 50s and 60s, when urban renewal was starting to take place, they really thought the city was going to grow. And the city did not grow.
Overnight, the trolley wires and tracks were torn away.
Old cars were destroyed, tracks dismantled. A once promising part of Rochester's history faded away.
So you bring up to anybody in Rochester that we had a subway, if they didn't know, it's like, what are you talking about? It's crazy.
The original documentary came out on VHS and DVD.
I think the original documentary holds up very well story-wise.
The technology,
He's been bugging me for years to redo it.
not as much.
During COVID, where we're all sitting in our own offices, and I said, there's enough here.
Prompting something which Armstrong never could have imagined.
Never. I thought that was it. And this is where we're going to be under.
Yeah, that's great footage.
Two longtime friends are now working on a new version of an old story.
Well, these are some of the images that we had.
A modern version in high def and high resolution.
Not that I'm not proud of this, but it's time to make it better.
Doing that is easier said than done.
We're trying to figure out what to do with the interviews, because the interviews were shot on high 8.
Interviews with folks who are no longer here.
Everybody except for one person has passed on, including the narrator. So
3 decades later,
I have a whole sheet of missing photos.
tracking down all of the old photographs and film used in the original has proven difficult.
we are realizing how much of this history is now scattered all over the place.
Long delays in traffic may be avoided by using the speedy, smooth-riding subway cars.
History and a story getting a modern makeover.
The story remains the same, but it can be expanded.
A tale of what was.
That's part of it, I think, is the dream of what could have been.
Two men who believe the story of Rochester's long-gone subway is still worth retelling.
This is a story that you can't put down. It's a story that continues to inspire, and it's one that awakens new interests in anyone who sees it.
In Rochester,
That's a great documentary, and that's End of the Line.
Seth Voorhees, Spectrum News.